My decluttering journey began many years ago, and I really wish that I would have known three things starting out. One, that clutter is really about a feeling and a set of feelings. It's not just about the stuff. So, what do I mean by that? Clutter is about the feelings that we have in relationship to the physical things in our environment. We can think about that at a symbolic level. We can think about that at a material level. We can think about that just in our relationship to stuff. So when we go to declutter, all of those feelings that are complicated and complex often come up. And so if we think about clutter as really connected to feelings, I think we are much better prepared when we go into a decluttering process. So, for example, if you go into your workspace, your creative space, and you look at something and you immediately go, ugh, even even if it's not at a very subtle level, even if it's not a big thing, it's at a subtle level, or if it's like ick, or you open a closet, for example, and you see several things that are irritating to you, several things you haven't acted on. Let's say it's, six pairs of shoes you need to take to the cobbler, and you're wondering, like, can they fix this? Do I even like this anymore? But they're still there. And every time you open up your closet, you see that. Or you have a project or two that has been there that needs some next step to it, and you're not really sure you want to take the next step. It's a creative project and it's just sitting there. And so every time you look at it, you get frustrated. Do you know what I'm talking about? That ugh, ick, ugh kind of feeling. Irritation, frustration, very, very common as we think about and we look in our environment and we really kind of take note of what do I feel inside when I look at these physical things. The other thing that can be very directly manifest related to our feelings and in our environment in terms of clutter is sadness. So sometimes as we're trying to declutter, we get strong feelings of sadness because we're sitting there holding an item that is bringing up memories for us, sometimes very good memories, sometimes not so good memories. So, for example, you might have a dress that you are trying to declutter, or even a set of dresses. And every time you go to do that, you don't really know why you get stopped, like literally stopped in your tracks. Well, it could be that dress represents something from your life that is no longer with you. So maybe you bought that dress or those dresses with a good friend, and that good friend is no longer with you for whatever reason. Maybe you're just not friends anymore. Maybe things ended badly. Who knows? Or it represents a part of your life that you have some conflict when you think about it. Like you have mixed emotions. So sadness is so important in understanding decluttering, as well as irritation, frustration, anger, resentment. So when we think about clutter as a cluster of feelings, we can kind of go much deeper and have a more introspective relationship to the decluttering process. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Michele Tracy Berger. I am a scholar, an award-winning writer, and a creativity coach. And for the last several weeks, I've been sharing videos about the relationship between the decluttering process and creativity. And currently, I have a declutter challenge for creative people going on. It's a self-paced course. I'll say a little bit more about that later. So the first thing, again, that I wish I would have known is that clutter is really about feelings and our relationship to feelings and stuff. Second thing I wish I would have known is that you don't have to be perfect in the process, that there's usually not going to be a one and done for most people. There are lots of decluttering methods out there, and they can, depending on where we are, where we start when we use them, they can take us to some incredibly transformative places. But for many of us, we will need to revisit that decluttering process. It's a layered one for most of us because we're dealing again with the emotional resonance of how do we get here? How do we get here? How did you get here? So some of how we got here as, and I'm speaking from American Western standpoint, is, just kind of growing up in a culture of consumerism. I heard on a recent documentary, the called Netflix documentary called The Minimalist, Less is Now. Highly recommend it. They said that the average American home has 300,000 items in it. The average American home has 300,000 items in it. So for most of us, the decluttering process is going to be a layered one. We don't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for progress and taking the next step and feeling much lighter, right? The third thing that I wish I would have known is that really what you're doing when you're engaged in the decluttering process and thinking about clutter and decluttering is you're thinking really about the future you. Who are you trying to become? What are you making space for? So sometimes we might feel like decluttering is about getting out of overwhelm, or it's about putting some things away, and that's all well and good. But at a deeper level, at both the physical level, the creative level, and the energetic level, we're really thinking about what are we trying to call in? That future you that you're trying to tap into, that is out there in the world of possibilities. And the decluttering process, especially the one that I've developed, really takes people into that inner transformational work. So it is about understanding where you are and where do you want to go. And that's really where the focus is. So it's not, again, it's not just like moving the stuff around. It's really saying, I'm here. Here are some of my patterns related to stuff. Here's what I would like to release. Here's what I would like to feel. Here's my future self that I want to get in alignment with, right? So the future self is not 5 years away. It's like a couple of weeks away, right? It is like that next version, that next really cool version that we're trying to walk into. And so the Declutter Challenge for creative people is a self-paced course. There are live calls that will be coming up, and it's really very unique in that it's designed for creative people and it supports transformation. It's about taking the container of throwing away, recycling, gifting 27 things over a 9-day period. It doesn't have to be done in that particular container solely, but that is part of the process. And that comes out of fengshui, the Chinese art and philosophy of placement. And it's not like any other challenge or self-paced course that's out there. It's really fun. It moves very quickly. And what we're trying to do is break some patterns, use momentum so that you're moving through 27 things every day and you kind of go through your house, or you can focus on one aspect, one area in your house and your creative space, and trying to kind of move through that in a fun, engaged way so that doesn't feel laborious. And I support you all the way with worksheets and affirmations, and people have been just having a great time in it. I just did a live call a couple of days ago, and people were making so much progress and making connections also related to their own creativity, because as creative people, we have to navigate that inner emotional territory that is really unique. We're dealing with inner critics, we're dealing with evaluators, we're dealing with judges, we're dealing with perfectionism and procrastination that shows up for us in a very different way than for people who are not aspiring to be creatives in terms of professional work, or taking it very seriously. So we have that, and physical clutter can really exacerbate some of the inner challenges. So usually it's not that we need a completely sterile environment, but I find that creative people, we do well being able to really take stock and engage with the process of decluttering in this container way that feels supportive and then allows for us to get unblocked and to have that kind of creative flow going. So check out all that information below. And I invite you to think about if you're interested in this work, what do you want to make space for that future you? Who are you hoping to attract in terms of that future self, right? So it's not far away. It's just a few weeks away. And then the energy of that you're calling the future self to you, that future you, then that will have really interesting and unpredictable, beautiful ways that will unfold for you for new opportunities. So every time that I've done this work myself, it has created untold opportunities for me. So I think because it allows me to have this very safe container to work from, and it's not too long, it just allows me to go deep and kind of make way for new possibilities. And I really feel strongly that it's such a game changer for us as creatives. So check out all those links below.